Well, it's Thursday wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means we get to review once again MLW, once again with Kings of the Colliseum. This one features the MLW World Heavyweight title on the line between Richard Holliday, who is the challenger who's been so fixated to obtain this title from his former friend Alex Hammerstone. But the obvious question is, will Richard Holliday walk out as the champion, or will Hammerstone retain the title? And then we got the NXT UK, as you know, for our main event. It's the NXT Heritage Cup. Will Mark Coffey, third try, become a trifecta, knowing that he had two chances that he missed, but now he gets a third? Also, we got Impact Wrestling. As you know, we're building up to Emergence that's going to happen next month. So we'll see what takes place. And of course, a couple of news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with MLW Kings of the Colosseum. This one is one of their biggest events that took place recently. So we opened up with the women's featherweight division taking place. We haven't seen any other women's for quite some time, but this time we have Brittany Blake versus Zoe Sky. Now Zoe Sky made a beeline straight to Blake in order to put her down quickly as possible, but it wasn't enough until Blake applied the bad omen finisher on her, and boom, it was over on her. Blake picks up a very good victory. Now, as you know, we get a very interesting interview from EJ Nduka. Now, keep in mind, Nduka did help Holiday and Hammerstone to defeat the Contra unit in that War of Chambers. Now, the obvious question was what goes on his mind. However, right now he's not too concerned about it. But however, he is going to pay attention to this match because one way or another he will get a shot of the MLW World Championship. It's only a matter of when will that take place. Now, we do get another interview with the Cloud couple, which is Alicia Toot and Richard Holliday. Richard Holliday tells our interviewer that, basically, this is going to be the same results. He's going to walk out as the champion. So basically, he's confident enough to believe that. Now, our next match, we have ACH versus, of course, Matt Cross. It was a pretty good match. I've seen these two guys, they're very talented, but in fact it was Matt Cross with the 450 that picked up the victory onto ACH. It was a pretty good darn match. Now Hammerstone, as you know, he is giving this interesting video package promo where he talks about Alex and about Holiday, how he felt about all this and that, but he told him that he will make him pay for what he's done and make him lay down on the ground. Now, some mysterious guy shows up, appeared at El Jefe's, at Richard Holliday's dressing room. Now, nobody knows what is this about. So that kind of puts it in, so we'll just figure it out. Now, for all you Mance Warner fans out there, it's already been announced that Mance Warner will be making his return to MLW. I'm excited. Old Mance Warner, drinking some light beer and kicking ass. That's what I miss about him in MLW. Now, the Boomaye Fight Club, as you know, they made some headways after they decided to attack Davey Richards to show him that his way of fighting is overrated, it's done, it's old, it needs to be repackaged somewhere else. But mark my words, Davey will not come alone. I'm sure he will bring people from Team Ambition. Now, our main event is the MLW World Title. We have, of course, Richard Holliday with Alicia Toot, and of course Hammerstone. It was a pretty good match, but however, I knew for a fact something was going to go a different direction. El Jefe decided to send one of his henchmen dressed up as a ref because the ref was taken out, but that ref actually took out the henchman ref. Basically, it worked, giving Hammerstone to put Richard Holiday in the Nightmare Pendulum, and 1, 2, 3, it is over, baby. So that means, of course, Hammerstone retains the title. So we'll see what happens, what El Jefe will do now that his plans to dethrone Hammerstone or control him is falling apart. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with NXT UK. Okay, NXT UK opened up with Oliver Carter to take on Tailman, along with the D Familia standing in his corner. Now, recently in the last couple of weeks, ever since Carter and Smith had no other choice to relinquish the NXT UK tag titles due to Smith's injury, D Familia decided to recruit Carter, saying that he will be better off with him rather than wait for Smith to be fully recovered. But Carter is sticking to his guns to stay. However, the more he was trying to stay the same, the more it was irritating Tailman to show him that they are a true family. But they decided to end up this match. Now, keep in mind, in this particular match, the Familia, that includes Rohan Raja and, of course, Charlie Dempsey, will do anything in their power to ensure that this match goes in favor of Tailman. But, however, I did not anticipate. Normally, most of matches involving Tailman, no one survives. But somehow, Ashton Carter picked up a huge victory on Tailman, giving him the win. But apparently, he has suffered the attack by them, showing them that they mean business. So we don't know what else is going to take place. So it's going to be interesting from then on. Now, as you know, for the past couple of weeks, we have seen Sam Gradwell, who is now sticking up to Trent Seven after his despicable, um, how do I say, treachery betraying Tyler Bate. However, as you know, Sam Gradwell has changed. He's not being that same arrogant prick that he's always been. However, it looks more like he's now changing into a new leaf, and Trent Seven will not take this lightly from someone like him. Try to tell him what to do. Now, Family Hanley, as you know, made a very good impression by defeating Amelia McKenzie the last time. Now, her next opponent, well, this one was not originally how I expected. Apparently, she was visited by the White Witch herself, Isla Dawn. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that match will take place between those two. So that is going to be interesting to see. Now, our next match, we got Josh Morrell. As you know, he picked up a huge victory over, who was it? I forgot who it was. But Dave Mastiff decided to put him through his tests, in the match. So that's going to be very interesting to follow. Now, Ilya Dragunov, as you know, says that he respects Wolfgang. Now, Wolfgang made comments about that. He's saying that he's flattered, but that he needs to be more careful where he does. As you know, he has always been picking opponents that could be far more dangerous than the last one. And I think that's the challenge that he faces. But Wolfgang is a bit concerned over that. And it's okay to feel that way. But we'll see what happens then. Our next match, we have Stevie Turner versus Amel. Now, keep in mind, in this particular match, we have, of course, Blair Davenport made her return. Watching this match and believes that Amel's hopes is a bunch of crap, all that sort of thing. But however, Amel picked up a very huge victory against Stevie Turner, but also drew the attention of Blair Davenport. That sort of makes all sense. Now, as you know, our main event, we have, of course, Shaw Samuels make some bets, knowing that Noam Dar is going to win this match and make a lot of money. So we'll see how that. But however, it was told by the ref that he is now barred from ringside, so he has to stay at one side. Now, last week we saw a very huge victory between the two Japanese ladies, Meiko Satomura and Sarai. However, Sarai wants to challenge against Meiko, so this is going to be a very interesting. Once again, Samuels decided to get in the business of Amelia McKenzie. She refused to comment of everything that's just transpired. Now, Mark Andrews and Wild Boar, as you know, they've been close friends for many years. Now they have their sights set for the NXT UK Tag Team titles. Now, keep in mind, Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs are the current. They will not take anything away from them, but however, they felt that they are representing exactly what these tag titles are meant about. But however, Andrews and Wild Boar believe they could be the ones to bring these tag titles back home to NXT UK. That is something is yet to be determined, but it can happen. Now our main event is the Heritage Cup USA Heritage Cup. I was impressed with the match. I did not anticipate a whole lot. Now it was what's his name? Mark Coffey that picked up the first fall, and then later it was Matt Taven. But something was happening. The refrigerator was acting up. It was really good. I don't know. I have to say the Heritage Cup match was so amazing. I think it showed Mark Coffey this is his last chance that he got, and I think it was really amazing. I enjoyed it. But however, Shaw Samuelson's like holding his breath because he made a lot of bets. But it was the last round. It was amazing. I did not anticipate that either for Mark Coffey to pick up a very huge win. But however, Samuel, I mean, this I have to say, Noam Dar should have known better. Shaw Samuels was an idiot. He owes money to people, all that stuff. But thought it was great. But not only that, to celebrate the entire event was none other than Mark Joe Coffey, Mark's brother. I thought it was a great moment. I was about to cry, and it's okay to cry, damn it. But wow, I have to say I love this match. So hope everybody enjoys this one of NXT UK. Let's move on with Impact Wrestling. Okay, our final review, Impact Wrestling. Now, this one had a very interesting opener. We have, of course, Violent by Design versus Motor City Machine Guns and Josh Alexander. Now, if you recall what happened last week, Eric Young was dissatisfied what Diener has pulled. Now, I feel like every decision that was been done by Violent by Design was done by Eric Young. The way it goes down, Eric Young was not happy with the fact that Dorian, under his watch, he never actually lost. But under the watch of Diener, that's a different story. So basically, he questioned it. However, he's pulling messes within Violent by Design, calling out Josh Alexander, try to start a fight with him, and dragging him right now in this opening match, a six-man tag match. Now, at first, all the players came out. Dorian and Diener, and of course their opponents, Machine Guns and Alexander. But Eric Young was nowhere to be found. But what I did like about this match is how Eric Young, he tries to stay out of the way, try not to tag himself in. He's like, "This is your mess, deal with it." So I think that tells us, like, in a psychological warfare, like, what do we know what Eric Young is thinking? Is he still upset with the fact that Diener went over his head and tried to do things under his name but without permission? I don't know. But I do know that, Diener suffered the consequences thanks to, of course, Chris Sabian pulling off an amazing victory. But however, if you guys notice what happened at the end of the match, Sabian had the belt, and I don't know if he actually wants to have a shot of the, of course, the Impact World title. But however, later on it showed Chris Sabian had a little conversation with Scott D'Amore. As you know, D'Amore is really good friends with Sabian, and he asked him that he would like to have a shot of him. So basically, he agrees with him. So basically, it's more like, okay, I see you, right. You were the one that suggested to Josh Alexander for option C. So basically, but however, there has to be a number one contender. So next week, it's told we're gonna have the Machine Guns faced off each other for a shot of the number one contendership for the Impact World title. But we all know this match is gonna be awesome. Now, anyway, recently Impact has been promoting the video packages of Killer Kelly. Now, if you guys never seen her before, she is this wrestler coming out of Europe. Seen her a couple of times. She had made appearances in 2020 in Impact Wrestling, but she wasn't a full-time member. I'm assuming that she was just getting some work done with them during taping. But it's kind of interesting now that she is coming to Impact. I don't know exactly if she will be a full-time, but we'll see when we get there. Now, our next match, we have Steve Maclin versus James Storm. Now, last week, James Storm decided to search for Moose because he had unfinished business with him. Now, the real question did remain during that time. What is Maclin's relationship with Moose? What is it going on? Now, Moose, he doesn't have that many friends. Maclin doesn't need any friends. So basically, it's still unclear. But the match was pretty interesting. But however, Maclin got away with it by removing the safety of the turnbuckle, and Storm hit the steel part, knocking him out, and 1, 2, 3 is done. As soon as the match was over, lights turned off, Sami Callihan showed up, but Maclin was way too smart, so he in fact bolted out of the ring into the other side, but Sami will not stop until he gets his hands on Maclin for costing him the match against Moose. Now, this is more like a feud that never stopped ending. Chelsea Green versus Mickie James. If you recall, a couple of months ago, Chelsea Green turned on Mickie James in the middle of the match and all this and that. So this is more like an epic conclusion. Now, they put shades of Mickie James and Trish Stratus into this match. So that's like an iconic thing, but I don't know if that's a smart move or whatever they tried. But of course, it took many times over to see who's going to be the one to pick up the win. But however, Chelsea Green took the win by applying her feet on the ropes. Ref didn't see it. This was a huge disappointing loss for Mickie, and she said that she was on her way home. But the real question does remain, what's next? Basically, they're trying to prove that she is out of here. So that's what Chelsea Green was trying to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Deonna Purrazzo is happy about it the following week. That's something we can see. Now, as you know, Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie went to the Undead Realm looking for Havoc. Now, no one's seen her since. Now, according to Father James Mitchell, he has seen her there, but nothing else has come across to it. So when they went to the Undead Realm, there was a shining bright light. And Taya Valkyrie went over there, and that's when she saw her. However, when Rosemary went to find them, that's when we have a little twist here. Havoc just goes by Jessica. I'm like, huh? So wait a minute, she spent the entire time in the light side? I'm like thinking, oh boy, this is gonna be interesting with Rosemary. Now, as you know, Myers has been happy like a clam that he reclaimed the digital media title that he thought it was his, but it wasn't. It was Rich Swann's. But however, Dupender Gurger has been dying to get a shot of that title. As you know, his record stand, he was undefeated. He hasn't lost a single match. But Myers, you know how he is. He's a total prick. Tries to put obstacles to ensure he does not get this title removed. Because, you know, the previous title holder was none other than Matt Cardona. But we'll see what happens. Now, our next match, oh boy. This is Tennille Dashwood along with Giselle Shaw and Madison Rayne to take on Masha Slamovich. Now, this was a match that I thought it was so funny because it tells Madison, like, as you know, recently we have seen Masha with a picture with the red cross, meaning that she's going to kill you. Now, Tennille tried to play smart, but it did not work. But unfortunately, she ended up flat on her back. Masha picked up the win. Now, I don't know who will be next. I wouldn't be surprised if Giselle Shaw be next. That's the thing that I don't get. But that's going to be interesting. Now, before we get to our main event, as you know, what happened last week with Mike Bailey, he's put himself in an interview saying that he was not happy with what they did with Diener. But he did say that if you just wanted a title shot, all you had to do was ask. But he said he's willing to put his X Division title on the line against them next week. So basically, this is going to be very interesting. So I don't know how Dean would take this, as you know, because he has Josh Alexander in his mind trying to finish off what he started. But right now, he needs to worry about trying to make things right with Violent by Design. Now, our next match, our main event, we had Honor No More, consistent of Kenny King, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, uh, and Eddie Edwards. However, when PCO and Vincent were on their way back, all of a sudden, the redheaded rebel Heath showed up and gave him a little piece of payback for what they did. Last week, it was, of course, Kenny King, and now it's Vincent. Oh my God, Honor No More is livid. They can't believe that once again, Heath has struck again. I would suggest Honor No More shouldn't be alone by themselves anymore. But I think the obvious question does remain, where the hell was PCO when this happened? Because as you know, PCO has been in hot waters with the members of Honor No More. So that's, I predict, what could happen next week. Now we go to our main event with them versus the Bullet Club, and as you know, Ace Austin this is first time getting some a little of the action. Now, this feud between both factions goes back for a while now. As you know, they're trying to determine who is the most dominant faction in Impact, on No More or Bullet Club. So that's the thing it's been told. So it was a pretty good darn match. However, there is some good moments where we see Kenny King and Chris Bay. As you know, King and Bay were once student and master, so that kind of fits into the whole thing. However, the match could have won in the hands of Bullet Club, but F and Maria had to get involved. Low blow Doc Gallows costing the match, but this is the thing that really would be surprising. I wouldn't be surprised that next week, Honor No More will issue a challenge against the Good Brothers for the tag titles. This is something they've been trying to get. They felt they've been screwed over many times before because, of course, nobody in Impact likes them. They are the most hated group ever. So that's something that we gotta pay attention very closely. If that's what they're trying to do, we gotta pay attention. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with Impact. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, as you know, we have the Stardom Showcase Volume 1 coming up on the 23rd of July, which is next Friday. Now, I already mentioned the card of the match. However, there was one that kind of I knew somehow it was going to be added. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, let me explain. Stardom put out this video where, of course, Utami Hashida was telling the entire fan base that she is declared the #1 power fighter in Stardom. However, Ami Sourei of God's Eye said the same thing. They started arguing, and then once that happened, here comes Micah of DDM, hearing like, "What are you guys arguing about?" And they said the same thing, and she claims herself the beast. Then all of a sudden, Ami Sourei bump into the little muscle herself, Saida, or as we call her, the gorilla. She, in fact, was like saying she is the #1 power fighter. So, however, I knew for some reason this is gonna happen. So they added it to the card called the Power and Tower Rule Tag Match in a 3-way battle. So we have, of course, Micah and Himeka being teamed up. Of course, Utami and Lady C. And a very unusual one, which is, of course, Ami Sourei and Saida. So I was surprised. Now, speaking of course, of Stardom, as you know, Himeka was not participating in any of the current events taking place this month before the 23rd. So this is, from what I understand, took place. Let me find it right now. Here it is. Okay. So this is what she put on her Twitter page today. My father died on the 11th. I'm glad I got in touch with you on the 4th. It's sad to leave suddenly, even though I was fine and healthy. But but it was loved by everyone. Thank you for your hard work. I'm sorry aloud, and thank you for choosing my daughter. My father is my pride. I love you. So as you know, this is the reason is because we had no clue why Himeka was not participating. We do know Waka was also there, was not there at all. Her health condition was a little thingy, so we sure she'll be fine. But Himeka, this was a very sad thing for any wrestler to do, to feel this way, to lose a parent, you know. So we pay our condolences to Himeka and her family. So hopefully she'll be fine before we get to the 23rd. Now, some interesting news has been surfacing on Twitter, as you may or may not have heard of this thing called the Wrestle Purist. They quoted something that JR talked about on the Grilling JR, and this one I think is something I believe. This is what JR put it out. AEW is definitely coming to the UK. It will be in the next calendar year. I know that for a fact. I don't know the dates, but we're all excited about that because we get great television ratings in the UK. Jim Ross. Now, there has been talk about this in reports that AEW's TV ratings in the UK have been successful. Basically, that's what's been going on. Now, I know what you WWE fans out there are probably going to say. No, this is a load of crap. WWE is the best. That would have been true because the thing is, they have been losing some ratings recently. So, there have been talks before that the AEW could be heading to the UK. And I remember well because Tony Khan said he would like to have an event at the Fulham Stadium, which is a big ambition by Tony Khan. And I say it could happen. We just don't know when it could happen. We knew the where. Now, some interesting developments taking place with Deadlock Pro Wrestling recently. As I mentioned before, we have some Yoshi wrestlers making their debut. But however, we have other debuts making. We have, of course, ASF and Dragon Gate's La Estrella making their debut on that particular day. And they will be in a three-way match against Gringo Loco. Now, to all you WWE fans out there, you may have heard the buzz about, okay, now WWE starting on July 18th, they're going by the TV 14. We haven't seen anything, so that means the era of the PG is over. Now, you probably ask yourselves, why is it happening now? As you recall, things are changing a little bit now that Vince McMahon has stepped down as the CEO temporarily until this investigation is going. I think they're trying to take advantage as much as possible because, as you know, WWE has been having some issues. We know the fans are losing interest. That's always been the case that we've seen over time. But hopefully, if this works, it could work. Now, speaking of WWE, you may have heard this is coming from the Wrestling Observer. It appears that Roderick Strong wants out. So basically, he requested his release from WWE, but apparently they're not. They're going to let him go when his contract expires. Now, some of you are saying, would it have been much easier to let him go? It would be easier, but the truth is, we just don't know how much time in his contract is in fact left. We don't know if it's months or a year. That is something that's been unclear to many of us now. We just don't know. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking right now, once he's released, he's probably going to head to AEW and reunite with, of course, the Undisputed. Well, the somewhat version of the Undisputed together. I don't know if that's the real plan of what we're expecting, but we will see when that day comes. So, but however, there is no statement coming from both Strong or WWE about this matter. So, like I said, we're just gonna wait and see. But I will be keeping tabs on this as long as possible until we get the answers. So I think that's pretty much it. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. You know, all this and that. Me personally, I am enjoying everything that I do. Uh, I'm still in the buzz with the whole thing with Natsupoi. Still jumping ship from DDM to Cosmic Angels. that sort of thing. As you know, I mentioned this. Today is the 14th of July. This is the day where we see Natsupoi how she will do in Cosmic Angels. I will keep that report. I'm not gonna be able to see the match, but I can tell you probably we can see how to do well. That's the thing. Let's just call it Natsupoi's Cosmic Angels report. So I don't know when that happens. But however, we do have our next episode coming up. We will be doing, of course, AEW Rampage. I think we're going to do the whole thing with Fyter Fest continuing. And of course, NXT Level Up. Now I haven't decided what I'm going to put before that. I'll keep it as simple and surprising, whatever. But yeah. So right now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.